Mark Matika. He is the author of High Frequency Living, a simple guide to unleash your spirit. After following traditional education in high school and college, Mark chose a path less traveled and began to investigate alternative ways of thinking, healing, and personally evolving. Studying nutrition, astrology, transformation, spirituality, metaphysics, and the laws of prosperity, he developed workshops for people to be able to regain their power. Mark now leads his Falling in Love with Yourself seminars and is committed to supporting people in finding their purpose in life. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Matika.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Good. I want to say that as I listened to the speakers yesterday and today, especially with Joseph, I don't have much left to say. In fact, I'm from Western Pennsylvania originally, north of Pittsburgh, and I recognize your accent, Joseph. And we have a similar background. I grew up in a small town north of Pittsburgh on the Ohio River, steel mill town called Ambridge, Pennsylvania. And back then, my father worked in a steel mill. My mother was at home. Very simple life. We didn't have a lot of money. So I was a hard-working guy, and I went to, at 7, I had a newspaper route. I was shining shoes and caddying at the age of 10 until I got involved at a caddy shack and watched some guys playing poker take all the money of the hard-working guys that were caddying. And I said, that's too easy, you know? So I discovered the power of the mind and start using your mind early in life. I was also raised Catholic like Joseph, and I too questioned the nuns in second grade about the kids that weren't baptized. Where are they going to go? And they called it limbo. They weren't going to hell. They were going to just hang out in limbo. I said, well, that doesn't sound like what an all-powerful, loving God would do with children who had no choice. So I started to question the Catholic religion back then. And religion, like Joseph said, has its place, or I would say it's had its place. Really, where I'm at right now about it is that we're evolving above religion. Religion was needed when we weren't a civilized, maybe, society a few thousand years ago, and to get people. There's some basic principles around religion that are fabulous. But we're evolving. We're evolving quickly now, and now I see religion mostly as a divisive. Something that divides people. Actually, it's a source of a lot of problems today in the world. Different religious beliefs. It's very exclusive. It's a right and wrong kind of thinking. You're not part of my religion. You're in the wrong one. So I don't see it as a powerful use today. And that's just the way I feel about it. That's my personal opinion. But just to give you a little background on myself and what I'm committed to, really my commitment in life is people prospering out of falling in love with themselves. Let me say what I mean by that. I don't mean the narcissistic way of living or to be loving yourself in a way that you're better than anybody else, but really to get that you're okay just the way that you are and the way that you're not, accepting yourself for everything that's happened to you, and letting go of resentment, regret, guilt, fear, worry, doubt, all the things that take us out of the present moment. Those things come from what I call our programming. That's been said yesterday. I think Jay said it. 99% of what we're doing and acting on a daily basis is really coming from our subconscious mind. Okay, we don't have much choice out of who we're being on a daily basis. 99%, that might be generous. I don't know if it's even 1%. Because of the way the human being is wired up and mentally and based on where our programming comes from, as he also mentioned this yesterday, it really is from religious upbringing, cultural teachers that we have that tell us things, and then we ingrain these beliefs. And by the way, it could be told to you once, and it could lock you in for life. Your life can be limited because of a parent saying something to you that you're not good at a particular thing. You should do this because you're not that. You don't have the power to, or you're not a good writer. You're not good in math. You're not a good writer. You need to work with your hands. There's things that parents say to us, and by the way, it's all coming from love and their form of empowerment, but it's something they were taught. What happens is these beliefs get passed down over time, and a whole group of people get limited. And that's how we are as human beings, and that's something to embrace and own. It's not a wrong thing. It's just the nature of humanity. And when you can own the nature of humanity, get the flow of humanity and what your flow is, and be responsible for it, you then can get free, but not until then. So in other words, if you can get the fact that we're programmed as human beings. Now, you heard a lot of people speaking yesterday and today about outside programming. We've got tons of it. Mark will talk about today the symbols that are out there, the programming from the biggest mind control device of all, the television, which is now spilling onto the internet. And as Joseph said, the YouTube videos. I mean, just because you see something, don't think it's true. And we've got to be discerning. But I can tell you that we are under a constant barrage of getting programmed. And if you're not responsible for that's what's happening to us, and you think you're separate, you're fooling yourself. You've got to get in touch with what the big plans are to control us. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? All that's happening in the world today, I believe, has its purpose for a greater transformation. If there wasn't evil and the destruction and the control that's happening, we wouldn't be rebelling. And by the way, I want to acknowledge everybody that's here today as a person of an open mind. I mean, we won't have to, it's not like they're waiting outside in line. So I'm speaking to each one of you that you're taking on, opening yourself up to learning. And I've learned, the more I learn, the less I know. Heard that statement? Really true as you open yourself up. The things you thought were true 10, 15, 20 years ago, maybe last year or 6 months ago, you hear something that alters that. And you never know when it's going to go off for you, as we said. Different speakers are saying kind of the same thing. We have our own cut at it and how we got there. But I'll tell you a little bit more about my story. As I said, I was playing poker at a young age when poker was not looked on as a favorable thing. So I was already an outcast. And in the 60s, when you're playing poker, that was not, now it's online and it's a big deal, right? Poker, you win a poker tournament. Yeah, I made a living till I was 31 doing poker, playing poker. So I was good, yes. But I didn't have a lot of satisfaction out of it. It was a win-lose world. I was beating other people out of their money. I liked the competition, the excitement of winning. But it was a loser on the other end. And I'm committed to living in a win-win world. So I eventually got away from that. And I said a prayer one night, like Joseph mentioned, back in the early 80s. And the next day I found what I'm still doing today. I'm in a health and nutrition company as a basic source of my income, but it also changed my health, changed my life, helped me grow. And then I got into astrology pretty heavily in 1977. Was a skeptic of astrology. I don't know who else has been a skeptic of astrology, but when I first got my astrological natal chart done, it was one of the biggest gifts of illumination to free me up and have me be okay with myself, which I stand for is the critical context of living, your relationship with yourself. If that's whole and complete, and you have integrity with that, and you're okay with the way you are and the way you're not, everything else in life will work. And nothing can touch you when you're that way. In fact, it's been said that we're all safe, really, inside this world of with all the stuff that's going on, as long as you believe that you're safe. And that you're here, and your purpose, what is your purpose? And how do you find that out? You keep coming and opening yourself up to learning and being around these kinds of events, reading, observing. My job is to keep working on myself until I pass over to the next life. That's what I feel. I feel if I believe I know everything, that's the end. They might as well push me in and put the dirt on me, right? And sometimes we get very strong about our beliefs, and we're righteous about it. And then as the moment you're being right about something, nothing else can show up. There's no other possible, no other possibility, really. So as I went through, I got to the astrology thing, and I started reading on that. And then, of course, I did some transformational courses, led transformational seminars. That was part of my growth and development. Kept moving on, took a 4-year spiritual school right here in Philadelphia at 6th and Locust with Zdenko Arsenievich, who's a spiritual teacher that I met at the Mind, Body, Spirit Expo. You know, things happen accidentally, you think, but they're really always on purpose. The universe is always on purpose. It's a cliche, but it is true. It's always working with what you're thinking. So if you're not getting what you like currently, you need to alter your thinking, that's all. Your subconscious thinking is running the show. Now, how do we find out what the subconscious thinking is? Well, there is ways to do that, but you've got to do exercises to generate it, to bring it up to your conscious mind so that you can actually see and get responsible for it. No wonder I have the life that I have. Look what I'm saying subconsciously. In my workshop, I have an exercise. It's called the I Deserve to Be exercise. A simple example would be, I was in bankruptcy, foreclosure. I lost my house in 1982, had 2 young kids, and very down and out, probably the lowest point in my life, because I was looking at myself like a failure as a father, a husband, a businessman, and the truth is that was a turning point in my life. It altered my life. It was a positive thing. If you'd have told me it was going to be the best thing that ever happened to me, I probably would have popped you, you know? You don't want to hear it when you're in it, but you have to choose what you have. It's the only access to freedom. And that you're the source of what you have. And there's a reason for it. It's the path you're on. You could say it's your karma. As Joseph said, and I believe also, people make agreements before they come into this lifetime. And some people call them contracts, but really what they're going to work on. And then we get into this physical 3D reality. We forget all the agreements we made. We've got to figure them out. But that's a great journey. So, you know, whatever's happened to you is perfect. Right now. It's exactly where it's supposed to be. Just like I went through that down time, and that was perfect for me, because that started me on my road of transformation. You know, people don't change or transform until the pain gets great enough. And they say, I can't take it anymore. I gotta make some changes. It's true. You know, it's been said, wounds, when you're wounded, emotionally, physically, spiritually, wounds are the keys to higher consciousness. So, you know, let's bring on the wounds, right? It doesn't feel like that, but the truth is, if you're wounded and you're in a time of despair, that is when the opportunity is to transform yourself and to move to a higher level. All the soul wants to do, I believe, is to evolve. We're all here to evolve. We can hold our evolution back by, you know, food, drugs, legal and illegal, addictions of different sorts. Right now, one of the biggest things that I think that's holding back the human race and society, particularly in the Western world, is the electronic age. Okay? People have called me a dinosaur at some point because I don't surrender readily to all the latest electronic stuff. But I see how it's robbing a whole generation of being present. They're wrapped up in their little whatever they got here, and this, or sitting here and doing it. Nobody's being with each other. You know, this winter we had a lot of snow here in Philadelphia, and I took my young son, 4-year-old, and my 11-year-old daughter out sled riding at the school. I have 2 older sons, 28 and 30. When we would go out years ago, everybody was out in the snow, right? This year, we were the only family out in the snow. Now that, to me, says something, right? And if you start talking to teachers and people, and then some of us are called dinosaurs because we're not with the electronic age. You've got to be careful about the electronics. They'll suck you right in. They have a virtual world. You'll lose your soul. You can lose your soul. In fact, you know, it's been said that what's coming is a separation of the electronic people and the natural people. There's going to be a division. It's happening already about, you know, people getting back to the earth, being connected. Because really, that's the place you get grounded. Electronics, now they have their place. I'm not completely against electronics, I got to tell you, but they're like an addiction. They may be the biggest addiction. It's been said that they're more powerful in getting you addicted than heroin. So why am I saying this to you? Just be aware of it. Look for yourself. How much time are you putting into it? Does it have you? You have to wake up and have to get on your, you know, messages to see what's happening in the world. That's all. It's there. Use it as a tool, but be wise about it, because this is about free your mind, okay, to these 2 days. And that will not free your mind. That will trap you. And the way I hear it, a lot of the electronics are chipped up anyhow to follow us, they can send messages out. You've heard it. Do you want to be exposed to that? The world is changing quickly. And I think another message for all of us is to get prepared if you're not prepared already. And that doesn't mean the money's going to be useful necessarily, but you're going to need a community. And this is a community here, and I want to acknowledge Mark and Mike and whoever else put this together, because we're a community of people. We're a lot of individuals that get together, but we don't spend necessarily as much time together. But the future is community, local community. Why? Because look what's happening. Prices are going up for gasoline. I mean, moving, if you own a house and try to move, that's almost impossible right now. You can't sell your house. You can't get the financing to get another house. If you're not owning, you could move around. But it's been said, again, that within 50 miles of your home is probably where you're going to be. So we need to get together and work together as a team, make things happen. Food production. We're going to be growing a lot of our own food. Food's going to get very expensive. There's an economic breakdown. Everybody knows, well, not everybody, I assume that if you're here, you're pretty open, but that there's also printing of money going on in all countries, and that the money's going to lose its value. And so, as a heads up, we need to be storing some food, getting related to people to work as a team, and weather ourselves through it, because it's not going to last, but I believe that we need each other. So I just want to say that. It wasn't part of my presentation, but that's what's going on out there, right? So let's just talk about, yeah, thank you. Let me talk about why people aren't in love with themselves a little bit more, because that's the presentation. That's what my purpose here is. On this lifetime, I've come to my purpose. I got it in 1988 in a transformational course on empowering others. And I realized that's that's what hit me in my heart. And that's what I do now. I surrender to my purpose, which isn't a bad thing. By the way, you can find your purpose in your astrology natal chart. It's a place you can find it. If you don't want to do astrology, you can simply do an affirmation or a mantra. The divine purpose for my life, for this lifetime, is manifesting quickly now. And it will show up. Everybody has a purpose. Mark put this together. What's your name again? We met this morning? Ryan's doing the sound. We've got somebody doing video. You're here listening, and you have a purpose. Take the message out and share it, or whatever you're doing in life. If you're turned on by what you're doing, passionate, joyful, you're doing it. If you're not, you can have the fear of change. Change is very fearful, but it's the only constant in the universe that we know of, right? Constant change. Be willing to change. Be willing to risk, to move forward, and see what's next for you. You can stay in the same place. I always discovered that the comfort zone, I'll talk to you in a second. The comfort zone was a place I strived for all my life. Make the money, get the proper house, the savings, be secure. And then I found that the comfort zone is the booby prize. There's no growth in the comfort zone. There's no evolution in the comfort zone. Be willing to be uncomfortable. That's where you're going to grow and expand. My spiritual teachers today told me when people come here and have a life of money, the perfect astrological chart it looks like, no obstacles, no squares, no oppositions, no challenges. You could say it's like a vacation life for your soul. You might even say it's a life of no growth, he said. So don't wish for all that. You've got the perfect obstacles in your way right now for your growth and evolution. That's what I've learned. So like I go back to the 1982, the bankruptcy, the foreclosure, losing my home. I ended up going through a divorce and totaling a new car all in 2 years. It wasn't a good time, but it was the perfect time for me. So if you're up against it in life, embrace it. There's a lesson in everything. We're all getting lessons. If you want to live like that, you can also be a victim of your life, where you'll lose all your power. There's a lot going on in the world that we could say we're victims of. The government, the medical profession, food, environmentally, corporations and the greed. You know, you focus on that and you'll be the victim and helpless. Not that that isn't true, what I just said about what's going on negatively, but you also could be responsible that that's what's going on in the world, and then what can I do about it? How can I get my world in order? And as Joseph said, work on yourself, which will raise the vibrations of everyone around you. Because the change is coming. This isn't going to last. I mean, look, you could say, it's been said that we're living in the finest times of all mankind, as far as recorded history goes. You know, there's been times before that probably that we don't know about, but we got hot water. We got a lot of luxuries. We still have them in America. People are driving their cars around, going to the bank and eating food off the shelf like it's going to be there forever. Go back a couple lifetimes and wonder how it was. Where was I? I was just at Williamsburg, Virginia, and I looked at the Jamestown settlers, and I said, geez, I wonder if I had a lifetime back then. That was tough. You know, they died. They didn't have enough food. So we're living in a great lifetime. And this is, also, this is supposedly the time of transformation for the planet, that souls are trying to get in here like crazy. There's 7.5 billion of us on the planet. There's a reason that there's so many people and souls trying to get in here. Up until December 21st, 2012, they say. This is the period of transformation from 1987 to 2012, a 25-year period of the most exciting time to be a human being. So you're here for a reason. You're also the future leaders if you're in this room. The leaders of society. There's going to be huge trauma and breakdown, and people aren't going to be able to deal with it. People that are in their worlds of everything's going to be the same tomorrow as it is today, driving their cars thinking their jobs are going to be the same, they're in for a shock. It's going to be traumatic. And they're going to be looking to people like you that are grounded. If you are that person, and I believe if you're here and you're open-minded, you're going to be one of the future leaders. You're going to be lighthouses. You're needed. I'm speaking to every one of you in your seat if you're here. Because you're here for a reason, freeing your mind, expanding your consciousness. It's not an accident that you're in this room. There are other people that aren't. They might have opted for sleeping in. Maybe they're having good dreams, I don't know. But you're here, right? So we can only go with what we have. So that's the way I see the world coming, but I do want you to know that if you're not okay here, you'll have some suffering in your life, and you want to get to the source of your suffering. You've got to find out what's in the subconscious mind. Where's the guilt from the past, the resentment you might be holding, the regrets that you think you should have done something. All those things are judgments that we're passing on ourselves. The freedom, the access to being free, is to take responsibility. That was perfect, exactly the way that everything's turning out up till now, because you can always shift in the moment. And you can't go back as far as I know. I know the guy was talking about time travel. I don't know if you made any adjustments to yourself, but we don't know how to do that yet, most of us. So what we have is the future now and what's going to happen. So what is there to do is just declare that complete. And that takes forgiveness. Okay, I have a chapter in my book called Forgiveness, the Magic Eraser, because it really can erase everything so that you can get back to a clean slate and create your life from nothing. But you must take the first step of forgiving yourself and others. By the way, you might have been done wrong, but are you going to hold on to that for how long? Because you're punishing yourself when you do that. We punish ourselves when we hold grudges, resentment against others and ourselves, and we're guilty about the past. And there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt around religion. There's guilt of not living up to your parents' dreams and wishes. There's guilt about what teachers taught you, and you're not doing that. Of course, we all want to look good and be right. That's also the nature of human beings. So you want to live in that paradigm. There's going to be a lot of suffering, very little being present, probably hardly any. Not a lot of joy, fulfillment, peace, harmony. Those things aren't available when you're guilty, regretting, having resentments, fearing, doubting. They're just not present. So we are the context of how our life goes. Our relationship with ourselves is the context. And context is decisive. What I mean by that is if you shift your relationship with yourself, because it doesn't matter how much work you're doing on yourself inside a context that you're not good enough, something's wrong with you. You keep learning more knowledge, but you still aren't happy with yourself. But once you get okay here, nobody can upset you. Nobody. You take control of your life. So, let's just see what else I have here for you. Oh, okay. Just to mention a few of principles that I live by, which are service, contribution, and integrity. I'll talk about those three things in a second. By the way, once you're okay with yourself, you can empower other people. When you're not feeling good about yourself, there's very little you can do with others because you have this focus on you're not good enough, and you can't really be 100% with people when you're concentrating on yourself and thinking about yourself. So it's important to get to this point, and you can do this simply by forgiveness today, saying that's it. It's kind of like when I was a kid and I went to confession, if you were a Catholic. You walked out of the confessional booth feeling like clean because they told you your soul was wiped clean. That's what they told me. And I had all these dark spots, the sins, and they'd wipe me clean. So that's when I experienced peace for however long until I sinned again, right? Then I was back in the guilt con. So, I loved it. For walking out of church, I felt pretty good after a confession. But then, it lasted for so long. Today, you can pass your own confession and forgive yourself and be clean, have that clean slate. And it's an ongoing thing, by the way. It leads me to this conversation about integrity. Integrity is being whole and complete with nothing left out. That means complete with your conversations with other people. If you have things you're withholding from people, holding against them, and you haven't spoken them from a responsible point of view, not making them wrong, but just saying, this is how I've been feeling about you. I'm asking you to forgive me. I'm forgiving you. Have those conversations. Like Joseph, I was just fortunate last weekend to be with the Dalai Lama's healer. He happened to be in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and a friend of mine had seen him, and this other guy brought him in. And we sat for an hour and talked, and he said that 100% of healing is here, in the mind. You can heal yourself if you have your mind right. I'm a big person on affirmations and mantras. I have been. I've created my whole life through affirmations, pictures, imagination. It's the quickest, easiest way, and so he and I were talking, and I thought, gosh, if people could just get that they could heal themselves with their mind, it's just like Joseph said, it's only if you think you can't, the diabetes will win out or the cancer will win out. It's not that you're not able, it's your thinking. And really, it's our thinking that gives us our beliefs, that gives us our lives. And your body is a code-reading device, so if your body's not at peace, and it could be a headache, it could be shaky, it could be, what are some other things that the body does? That when you're not just balanced, those are your little keys to tell you that you're out of balance, and you need to get back to your mantra and say, this is who I am. And you create that on an ongoing basis. This is what I do. Whatever I feel, and you can feel it. You'll start to get really sensitive when you've got something to say to somebody, and one of the little things that'll tell you that you've got that's on your mind, that's not getting worked out, that's in your way, is something that you think about more than 3 times a day. If you have a thought about somebody, and it's not a pleasant thought, then you think about it again, then you're in the shower and you're talking to that person silently. Well, you got something to say to that person, and to get it out of your system, out of your being, communicate it so it can get heard, and then you can be back to 100% in integrity with yourself and that person. So there's these little tools that you can check on. Like I said, your body is talking to you always. Many people have probably seen Louise Hay's book, right? Phenomenal lady. What a contribution to humanity, right? But you can go into that book. I even have my 11-year-old daughter reads it when she's not feeling well. By the way, my whole family is never sick. We don't believe in sickness as a germ theory or whatever, viruses and so forth. If you're not okay here, you get sick. If you're okay here, sickness bypasses you, goes to somebody else who's not okay. And that's how we operate our health in our family. And we've not been medicated. I've not been sick in 20-some years. Take no medication. My wife, same thing, 15 years. My 4-year-old and 11-year-old, my 20 and 30-year-old son, nobody takes medication in our family. Medication's not necessary. do the best you can at eating. Nobody's going to be perfect. If you eat something that's not good for you, forgive yourself. Enjoy it and forgive yourself. Let it go, my gosh, okay? Don't hang around and beat yourself up, because then you'll cause whatever you think that thing that wasn't good for you was probably going to do to you. You'll bring it onto yourself. You're the source of your life. You're the author of your life. You've authored it up till now. You can change the story anytime you're writing the book. You can do it. This is the way we're designed. Start commanding what you want. Get your power back. Don't be a victim of the things that have happened to you. You can be a victim of your circumstances with no power, or you can get responsible for your entire life and gain all your power back. And you can do it today in a moment like that. Now, you can argue with me about that, but then you'll be being right, winning that battle, and that'll keep the way your life is going, it'll keep it going. So as I said earlier, until things get really bad, we don't make many changes. It's even been said that you need to be damaged before you transform. Now, you can be damaged physically, mentally, spiritually, but it's the point where you can't take it anymore. That's when changes happen. People know in this room that, you've made changes in your life after you couldn't take it anymore. That's what action happens. Now, if you really believe you're guilty, you can create suffering till the day you die, and you'll suffer. But that's a belief system. So checking out your beliefs and where they come from is vital. And it's what's giving you your life today, every part of it. Health, money, relationships, people, job, relationships with your family. It's the source of your life. I'm very clear about that. And this is, like I said, I continue to look at things, and I'm learning a lot here. Yesterday, hearing what everything everybody said today so far, this is all kind of the same thing like everybody's saying. It's just different cuts at it. What you want to do is grab onto whatever you see that works for you, that you can identify with. That's why it's so important to share ourselves and our stories, because people relate to different people. I'm glad that Laura was up here yesterday, and Suzanne with the movie. See a couple of females up here. It's interesting. Somebody said we don't see many females or lasting or up here, but the females need to identify maybe with a female, the males with the male, younger guy with the younger guy, and so forth. We need to share our different stories so somebody can latch on and relate and say, oh, that's just like me. In fact, Joseph's story was just a lot like me. I said to my son, I said, I don't have much to say. He covered it all, although I've been talking for a little while here. So why don't we, let's see if there's anything else. Service, contribution, and integrity. Service, look, we all have a difference to make here. I don't know what your purpose is. You can find it. But it's been said, find something that you like doing that makes a difference for people and do more of that. So that's service and contribution. And, I mean, the way the society's going, there's not much of that going on, by the way. So people are so wrapped up in their lives and worried and fearful, they can't even see getting out and making a difference with other people. And if you work on the integrity aspect, which never is complete, like I said, it's like the confession thing. You got integrity for a moment, and then you're back out in the world, and you make a mistake, clean it up. Just keep moving. You're never going to have 100% integrity for long. You're just a place to come from. Like, I realize the cost for myself if I have integrity issues out. It shows up in my body. Sore throat if I'm not saying something to somebody. Fever if I'm angry. Tiredness, resistance. I'm resisting something. There's all this body talk that's going on, and you want to start listening to yourselves so that you can be freed up from the subconscious belief system that's running you that you don't even know about. I'll go back to this. The key thing that I do in my workshop is this exercise called I Deserve to Be. You can do this in any area of your life. We don't have time to do it because we have a 50-minute presentation. It's an 8-hour workshop that I do. But if you want to write this down, if any of you are taking notes, you can do this in an area. Say it's money. The first time I did it was about money because I was in bankruptcy, foreclosure, and I wasn't feeling good about money. I deserve to be wealthy, and I just wrote anything that came to my mind. It pops up. I deserve to be wealthy, but I'm lazy. I deserve to be wealthy, but partied too much in college. I deserve to be wealthy, but I stole money from my mother's bowl when I was a young kid. I ended up having to talk to her about that because I had to clean it up after I saw it. And she goes, oh, I said, did you know that the milk glass bowl, I stole money. I took quarters and went to the candy store and bought candy. And she goes, oh, all you kids had your hands in that bowl. I've been carrying this for 20-some years, And she knew about it? Really, the joke's on us, really, You got to laugh at yourself, too. My gosh, it's really easy to be heavy, but, lightening up opens up the chakras, tightening up. Stress will tighten up the chakras, okay? And we need to laugh more and have some humor. It's missing. It's a healthy thing to laugh. A good belly laugh where you can't stop is a very freeing opening up of the chakras. You know how you feel when you have a good belly laugh? You're uncontrollable. You lose yourself, right? It's unbelievably healthy. We're not doing enough of it. So anyhow, yeah, I deserve to be wealthy, but, I smoked too much pot in college. That one was a big one for me. I had a lot of guilt around smoking pot back then. I deserve to be wealthy, but I sinned a lot when I was a kid. So it went on. So you'll have a finite amount of things that'll come up when you do this exercise. You can do it. I deserve to have a healthy body. I deserve to be a great artist. I deserve to be in a great relationship, and you'll see subconsciously they'll rise to the conscious mind, and you have it on a piece of paper, and then you'll look and you'll see the story you've crafted. What great authors we are. The crafting of a beautiful story that's keeping you exactly where you are. And you'll say, no wonder I have what I have. Look what I'm saying subconsciously. Because the universe is always on purpose. There's no God up there judging us. I don't believe it. It's our partner. Whatever we're thinking or saying or doing, that's what the universe sends us. It's not judging. Mark wants more of that suffering. Let's give it to him. He wants to stay mad at his ex-wife. Let's give him some more conflict. I don't know why he's doing it. It doesn't even say that. But like if that was me being the universe, I'd say, I wonder why they're doing that. But it's non-judgmental. It's just the universal energy is a cooperative venture. It's cooperating at all times with us. So you're getting exactly what your thinking is. That's what I have to say to you. But lighten up about it. This is a freeing experience to know that you're the source of it versus the victim of it. And people have had some traumatic childhoods, as you heard from some yesterday. But that doesn't mean it has to continue. You could say that's the end of the suffering today. I'm designing my new life. Here's what it is. And you design it, you write it down, what you're passionate about, what you're joyful about, what brings love to you, and say this is who I am and how I'm living from now on. And then you get some mantras and some affirmations, and you keep repeating them, and all of a sudden you're training your subconscious. You're in control. So that's really all I want to say. I'll take some questions, but I want to thank you for your listening because a lot of people aren't up there, but thank you. And I might have ended a little early. Any questions about what I said? I covered some ground. The man over here had his hand up earlier. You had a comment? Get you a mic? Where's our mic runner at, Mark? Or just, you want to stand up and be, oh, I got the mic.
Thank you so much for this. It's like I got so many notes out of this talk that you gave. Thank you. You gave a mantra earlier.
Yes.
It was the first one you gave, and I started writing it. I just wanted to make sure that I got it correctly, or do you remember it?
Are you talking about the purpose for your life?
Yes.
Yeah, the divine purpose for my life, for this lifetime, because we live many, right? The divine purpose for this life, for my life in this. How about that? It's my divine purpose for this lifetime is manifesting quickly. Now. And be ready for change, by the way, if you take that on. Because it may not be anything that you're doing right now. It'll start unfolding quickly. Because some people aren't feeling like they're doing what their purpose is, and that's a great way to get it rolling. Okay? Anything else over here? Yeah, thank you.
Hey, I'm going to let him go next, I guess, but I have a question for you, actually. I firmly believe in your concept of no medication, no vitamins. I actually instinctively live that lifestyle, and I stress it to all of my friends and family. I don't get headaches. I never get sick. I don't take any drugs, any medication, any vitamins.
Great.
When I get a sore throat, I eat like crazy and maybe bombard myself with some vitamin C. But I still never any histamines, anything. And I'm not allergic to anything, 0 allergies. And I do this instinctively. A lot of these philosophies that everybody's been talking about, I actually do a lot of instinctively. It's nice to hear that I'm on the right track.
Yeah, very good.
But my question to you is do you have any quick reading or material that you've written or anybody that you know that also shares that philosophy so that I can just direct people to it? Because I tell people this all the time, and they're like, you're crazy, like you need medication, you need to go to a doctor. And I'm like, bullshit. You need to just be like right.
Yeah, I'll answer your question.
But, pardon my French. But yeah, if there's anything you've written or if there's anybody
Louise Hay's book is like my little Bible in the house. We've got the little pocket all over the place. People call up on the phone. My daughter will pull. We have it about 6 different places. Sometimes you can't find it when you really want to stay stuck. Books get lost. Your mind doesn't want you to get freed up. So I refer to her a lot. And I think that everybody could have a little pocketbook. They sell it $6.95. It's just affirmations for different parts of your body that aren't well. I've used it with people tremendous. I use it on ourselves. Hundreds of people get to that. Get to the source of your thinking, and then there's an affirmation or two for each. Louise Hay, you can heal your body. You can heal your body. Great. Right here, yes, sir.
Yeah. In light of what you were saying about the electronic
yes
thing, I really took to heart, and I just came down on the bus today, and there was a guy having this, animated discussion on his cell phone for the whole bus, and it was in a foreign language, and people were looking at him, and he was totally oblivious. But I would like to suggest we have a beautiful spring energy out there, and
yes.
Try to get your noses out of the electronic world a little bit. And a block and a half away from here is the most gorgeous weeping cherry tree. It's probably 40 years old. It's at the peak of bloom. Even tomorrow, in the 80s, it'll
yes.
start dissipating already. It's a precious work of living art, and we should enjoy it.
Beautiful. Thanks for saying that. Yes, there's a lot in nature to embrace. Go ahead.
You were asking about a book to read. Do you know about As a Man Thinketh by James Allen?
Yeah, it's one of my earliest books that I read, and I thought I saw some copies downstairs.
Yeah, that was for me. I brought them.
Are they available?
So yeah, I recommend As a Man Thinketh to everybody. It's about what he talks about, the power of the mind, and it's a great
very
book.
simply written too. Beautiful.
It's like 30 pages. It's a short read, and so much great stuff in there. So I would
Thanks
recommend
for saying
that.
That's good.
Sure.
Great put it with yeah, right next to you.
Hi, thank you. I came in late. I have a question.
Yes.
When you're speaking about forgiveness from the mind and all that,
Yes.
when there's been an insult to the body,
I didn't hear that.
when there's been an insult to the body.
To your body?
Right.
Yes.
Or even some
Like a physical abuse or something? Yes, go
Yes.
ahead. I got you.
Or even, a betrayal, a robbery, things like. So on the mind level, it's possible to do the forgiveness, the compassion, to go through. And yet, how does that relate to the body? Because the body on level, I understand the body can be the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And so doing that from the mind place, as you think, so you are, the mind never makes the body a liar, that kind of thing. But still, when there's been an insult and we do forgiveness from the mind, how does the body not feel betrayed by that?
Well, when you truly forgive, you'll let it go. And the point is you can hold on to that, and you have the right to do that, but not forgive. It's just that what I learned in my spiritual school was the deed doer, when you hold resentment and not forgiveness towards somebody who's done you wrong, They're going to get theirs. Their karma will be worked out, but yours, it comes back to you 10 times. You do more harm to yourself with a blocked energy in your body by not forgiving. So if you get in touch with the cost of how damaging this is to yourself, you want to let it go for your own evolution. And look to see what the lesson was there, what you could learn from that. Not that it's a good thing that got done to you, but what is it? I was robbed recently, not recently, about 10 years ago, of a lot of money in my home while I was sleeping. And it took me a month or two to get over it because it was significant and I felt violated, like you said. They came into my home right while my kids were sleeping. And but I realized I had to let it go because it was costing me too much. And what was the lesson for me there? I looked up that and I didn't get it right away.
Okay, I get that. Now, in the body, if there's pain, if you're holding trauma in the body,
Yes.
there's pain, there could be anger held in some tissue.
Yes.
So before you do the forgiveness, at
Yes.
least in my mind, it's to go into those places in the body that actually hurt or where the anger is stored, whether it's constipation, colitis, heartburn, to address and release it physiologically.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's a physical component to deal with that and do everything you can physically with nourishment, nutrition, body work, whatever that is. But ultimately, if you don't forgive, it will come back.
Right.
That's one of the things about physical healing. You can heal physically, but things will come back to you if you don't let go.
Right, I understand, but it's not just to do from the mind, the forgiveness, because you need to address the body
Yeah, of
in
course.
conjunction with doing the forgiveness, because if just, you're writing this beautiful level of forgiveness and you're writing it and you're clutching the pen out of tension,
Yes.
the body isn't getting what the mind is doing.
Well, I'd say you're not really letting go.
I
You're
see
clutching the pen and holding on. You're being right that this was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we're being right, we're stuck. That's another thing, if you want to look and see. If you're not getting through some things, you're being right about something. And you're unwilling to let go and maybe say there was something bigger in this for me. It's just like when I went through my bankruptcy, divorce, foreclosure, and all that. I was being right that the National Football League went on strike. That's the business that I had. And it was them that did it to me. And until I let it go, I suffered financially. I suffered peacefully. I finally said, I'm responsible. I could have done something about this. Same thing when I got robbed. It happened when it happened. How long do I want to hold on to this? Because I'm suffering. And when you get that your suffering is the greatest cost, like I said earlier, wounds are the keys to higher consciousness. It's been said.
Mm-hmm.
Then you move into the higher consciousness part of it. You may not know what it is right away, but you let go of the holding on to.
So then the forgiveness, just doing the forgiveness, eventually what you're saying moves into the body, and the body lets
Yes,
go.
absolutely. Once you forgive, a whole new world opens up. But nothing can before that. Thank you for that, making that clear. Yep.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I hear in this whole conversation is the opening your mind, freeing your mind, our consciousness. That a fundamental part of it, and I think in my own journey, it was when I finally came to a point where I said, gee, some of the things I'm seeing don't seem valid. Allowing a discernment to arise and say, oh my God, what if it's possible? What if it's possible to heal my body? And then I've done a lot of work in exploring the connection between the cells and the mind. But I'm just realizing that there's a fundamental part of it, which is the willingness to be open to things that I don't seem to understand logically within the 3D, within something, and just freeing my mind from the constraints of everything and then allowing from wherever new ideas, new thoughts, new ways to arise.
Willingness, yeah, thanks for saying that. That's great. Anybody else? Right there.
Yeah, I just wanted to affirm what you were saying about disease being in the
About
mind.
the what?
About disease and sickness being in
Yes.
the mind. I've experienced that in my own life. I haven't been sick for a long time, or if I do get what they call a virus, it lasts like 12 hours. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
it's gone so quickly. But as far as like physical injury, like sometimes you'll get, I'm a blue collar worker, so I get
Sure.
cuts and scrapes and
Yep.
had a broken rib and stuff. it works in that area as well. It's shocking how quickly I can heal my own physical injuries anymore.
Yes.
And for me, what's worked is, of course, your physical body alerts your brain to the trauma that it suffered through pain, and I deal with the physical pain the same way I deal with emotional pain. I experience it. It's like the physical pain needs to be experienced before it can dissipate, or that's been my experience. Like, I fell and broke a rib, and I just, that's a really painful thing.
Yes.
If people have had a broken rib, they know what I mean.
Laugh. You can't even
right,
laugh.
right. Sneezing and laughing is very difficult. But I concentrated on just experiencing that fully, being fully conscious of that pain. And I had 100% recovery within 3 weeks. It was just truly incredible. So
it's great.
That's just my
being
experience.
With it, just being with it, yes.
Yeah, just like it's like my mind goes into that and totally experiences it, and then it just dissipates.
Yes.
So and cuts will like heal within 24 hours. It's
That's
like
great.
super
well, there
healing.
you go. Everybody can pick this up from him. The other thing around injuries and stuff like that, which aren't necessarily sickness, your body's talking to you there too. You may not be, you might be sabotaging yourself. Life could be going very good. Sometimes when life's going very good, we sabotage ourselves very often because we don't think we deserve to have that good a life based on this programming from the past. I remember falling asleep at the wheel at 65 miles an hour on a new Honda Accord in the 90s when I just had reached a financial level that I hadn't been after all this bankruptcy and everything. In the middle of the afternoon, I put on cruise control. I never used cruise control. I got a new car, cruise control. Let me try it out. Boom, I fell asleep, bounced off the guardrail, 65 miles an hour. Wake-up call. And I talked to one of my mentors at the time, and they go, "What were you thinking about?" I was just thinking about, I'm finally financially, I'm getting it together. And she goes, "Well, did you feel you deserved it?" I said, "Well, I thought so." But she goes, "Every time you make more money and reach another level, you're going to deal with your own worthiness." We're always dealing with our own worthiness. Again, the upbringing, the culture, the religion, the teachers, the parents, all the schooling. People don't really get how great they are. They want to play small. We all want to play small and not own our greatness. It's just the nature. Doesn't mean you can't. But if you don't know that about human being, you'll get wrapped up and wonder why your life's not working or going the way you want it to. Thank you for that. Anybody else before I come down? Back there, yes, sir.
Yeah, just to echo on what this gentleman was just saying, I had an exact similar experience. At one point, I had a severe toothache, and I was self-medicating using ice water just to numb the pain.
Yes.
At some point in time, it just got late. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I needed to get some sleep, but I didn't have any relief. It wasn't until I got absolutely, perfectly still and just faced that pain that it subsided. And because at that time I couldn't get to a dentist or anything like that, but I had to just be still and just face it. And then that pain subsided.
That's beautiful. And these are all good examples, people sharing of what's possible that you may not think is possible, but when you hear it in other people and it's happening, just like we've been hearing this whole yesterday and today, it opens up the possibility for yourself. That's why community is important and face-to-face contact. Again, the electronic world's put a lot of us into Facebook, emailing, and you don't get to see people, and we're not being with each other. And that's a missed opportunity. I've been in Africa where people are starving to death. I'm a big believer in ending hunger on the planet, so I went to Senegal in the back forgotten villages and saw the people that didn't have much food, and we dug them a well and taught them how to raise, for self-sufficiency. We didn't give them stuff. No food we gave them, but we generated them being able to do it on their own. Every person in the community in Africa, whether it's a little kid, an elder, woman, man, they're all pitching in. They have this interconnectedness at a basic level that's very powerful, that's missing in today's Western society due to the electronic age a lot. Before the electronics, we still had it. It was all about getting independent and getting your house and your family on a hill with the fence and away from everything. But we're coming full circle back to the community. So we might as well get with it, right? And let's be with people, be with each other. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.